The X-Men are back. The goddess is goddessing, and we ain't got no time to waste. Let's get right into it. Disney started X-Men 97 off right with a complete, almost frame-for-frame recreation of the original X-Men animated series opening. The main theme song is also recreated faithfully, almost note for note. There's the addition of Morph and Bishop, who are now on the main team. So if you grew up with the 90s animated series like me, then this is gonna get the little kid in you hype. However, while this initially got me really excited, I got the feeling that this was gonna be nostalgia bait. Thankfully, at least as of the first 2 episodes, that is not the case. There's actually a lot to like here. Episode 1 deals with Sunspot, aka Roberto da Costa, who's been captured by the Friends of Humanity before he's rescued by the X-Men, who then give him safe haven as they try to figure out what the hell the Friends of Humanity are up to. We also have Magneto. He's leading the X-Men, taking Charles Xavier's place, as was dictated in Xavier's last will and testament. I think the most accurate way to describe how I feel about these episodes is with a very strong "Woo! Yeah, baby!" with a nice helping of
I'm a patient man. That's what 19 months in a Vietnamese prison camp will do to you. But I will be watching you.
Don't worry, y'all. We're gonna have a whole section where we talk about everything they've done with Storm, because I have a lot to say about that. But really, all the fight scenes, on point. They definitely blew their budgetary loads when it came to the fight scenes. The banter, the team dynamics, from Rogue and Gambit's romantic connection to Cyclops and Wolverine's rivalry, even though they're not really quote-unquote fighting over Jean anymore because duh. Jubilee being the precocious junior who actually now has somebody else that she can be over. She's somebody's mutant senpai now, so that's dope. Morph being a troll-ass troll at every possible turn. Storm being the more stern of the Den Mothers, with the other being Jean Grey, who's a bit more on the softer side, like, everyone let's please behave. And Storm's like, you will fall in line. But even Storm has her softer side, which she displays in a very touching scene with Jean, who sits down and talks to her about her fears about whether or not her unborn son will be a mutant or human. And this is easily the best Cyclops fighting we've ever got. I mean, the whole dude's attitude has gotten a complete facelift and a half from the way he's been characterized in those live action movies. He is so fun to watch, so exciting. Yes, he's a Boy Scout, but he's a Boy Scout that brings the heat with them optic blasts. The way that man was zigzagging around the room while straight up serving dudes 2, 3, 4-piece combos, the whole slowing down his descent with his optic blast thing, this is Cyclops right now, y'all. Marvel, if you watching this is how you Cyclops. From now on, that's how you Cyclops. Now, outside of the fight scenes, the animation itself does get pretty meh. It has like this really choppy feel, although that dance scene with Jubilee was done pretty well. Also, I love how Morph's inclusion gives them an excuse to now bring in other members of the X-Men team that they otherwise wouldn't bring on the show. He turns into everyone from Angel to Colossus to Lady Deathstrike with weapons and everything. Was Morph's powers that dope back in the day? Or maybe Morph just got stronger now that Morph's been liberated from the confines of the gender binary. I'm sorry, that was dumb. I'm not cutting it out. But one of my criticisms of the show does have to do with how subpar the animation gets when it's not firing on all cylinders for an action scene. So much of the episode is spent with characters espousing deeply about how they feel or giving some type of exposition. You just find yourself wanting them to hurry up and get to the next action scene just so that the animation can look animated and not like a slideshow. So I really hope that in the coming episodes, they spare some of those expenses for scenes that are less visually impressive, but still very important. Also, the pacing is breakneck speed. We go through so much in 2 episodes. Now, I'm not going to get into every single spoiler here again, but there's so much happening. I believe this is only going to be 10 episodes, so my worry is that they're going to try to fit like 20 to 30 episodes worth of story within 10, and that's going to work against the show. Now, before moving on to the absolute mother of mothers, I do want to go over some bars that I feel like, some X-Men bars that I feel like were exceptionally strong. We actually kick off the action with some storm bars. When she descends from the heavens after making the room extra chilled, she harkens back to her first usage of her powers in the OG show, announces herself as Storm, Mistress of the Elements, commanding the Friends of Humanity to release the boy or face her wrath. Anytime they reference the OG animated series with lines, that shit makes my day. Also along those lines, I surrender. Not given by Cyclops, a reference to when he zapped the Sentinel back in episode 1 of the old show with, of course, not. But we have some original lines doing work as well. One of them coming from Sunspot himself, who displays his powers to Jubilee before telling her why he doesn't want to join the team. Be an X-Men? I don't even want to be myself. That is such an emo teen line, but damn if it doesn't fit right now. Later in the episode from Trask, we have, "You have no idea what it's like to be left behind by the future." I love that line because it's so meta. I feel like that's almost the show itself speaking. This show is a revival of an old show, that one that's beloved, but it's still an old show. I mean, I was ready for this to be just Nostalgia City and them not have anything new or original to offer at all. I mean, let's be real. The X-Men's peak in terms of their cultural influence was definitely in the 90s and early 2000s. So to bring the show back and have it be at the forefront of our consciousness again is really actually important, I think. I do have one more line I want to throw out right now, and that comes from the bar master himself, Magneto. "Oh, to play by their rules, and still they come for you." I love that line. It applies so well to just extremists in general. You've heard a lot of talk about the X-Men being made too woke. Like, yes, obviously it preaches tolerance, acceptance, human connection, which are, generally speaking, very progressive values, but it's not a concept that the left alone holds. And extremism is fucked up regardless of whether it comes from the right or the left.
You're far right, you're an asshole. You're far left, you're an asshole.
And that's why I think Magneto's phrase works so well here, because while we've gotten phrases like mutant lover and one of the good ones, which are definitely shots against like the far right or far right nationalism, even white supremacy, when I hear Magneto say, "You play by the rules and still they come for you," I think of cancel culture. I think of all the people who will double down for far left ideology and support things like canceling people, all while trying to toe this leftist line. And then the moment they step a toe out of place, their quote unquote allies come for them. Even people who are more reasonable on the left. Think about Lacey Green. Think about Lindsay Ellis, both of whom were once leftist darlings until they either said the wrong thing or talked to the wrong people. And then the far left firing squad turned right on them. This is why the X-Men is so powerful, y'all. We've talked about the episodes. We talked about the good. We've talked about the questionable. But now it's time to talk about the Weather Witch, cause bitch! One of the things that I have been saying since day damn one on this channel is how tired I am of seeing them nerf Storm. And while we haven't seen even the surface level of what she's capable of yet, I think that what we have seen of her is off the charts. I can tell that the people who made this show truly value the X-Men, and I think their characterization and utilization of Storm puts that on display like nothing else. I love how they did Cyclops. I think Cyclops is perfectly characterized in this show. He is both stern and serious. He has that Boy Scout leader sort of mentality that he should have, but he also has like a Saturday morning cartoon hero funness to him. He's also not a wet noodle that just gets run over by Wolverine and everybody else. I'm so tired of that shit happening. But she ain't playing with y'all. She not here for no games. There's a certain part at the end of episode 1 where you've seen the fight scene. You've seen the fight scene with the Sentinels, but so many people are like, where's Storm? Why is Storm not in the fight? She wasn't in the fight, y'all, because she was the thing to end it. Not the whole fight itself, it did continue on, but that phase of the fight, the reason why she wasn't there is because she had an intro to give. Can we say lightning that turns sand to glass? Can we say the ultimate proclamation and announcement of powers? I truly felt like I was back in middle school playing Marvel vs. Capcom or X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and I hit the ultimate button with Storm on my team, and her move took up the whole screen. It was so good. She also gives off very strong Mama Bear vibes during the whole thing. You can definitely tell that she has that capacity to be the leader. Speaking of quality, the quality of Allison Seeley Smith's voice acting has not skipped a beat. You would think that after so long, her voice would have started to lose some of its quality, but I really think that time has actually helped her a bit, because Storm has always had that deep, rich, commanding theatrical voice, and age has only made that even more rich. The voice acting overall in the show is, I'd say, definitely solid. There are some parts where it's like Sunspot's voice actor, I don't know, he just sounds real phoned in. Lenore Zahn also, you can tell in some parts she's having to try harder to really sound like Rogue, versus before where it just sounded so natural. Also, Cal Dodd. Everybody who thought that he was gonna not be able to bring it home as Wolverine, you just got shown how wrong you were, and it's beautiful. But getting back to the mother, she's also not portrayed to be invincible or untouchable. She can get hit, she can get hurt, but you also know that anybody who thinks they're gonna just beat Storm, they're gonna have to work for that victory. But speaking of powers, it is time. This is the big spoiler. Storm actually loses her powers. She takes a blast from a depowering gun fired by the Executioner with the Friends of Humanity, one that was meant for Magneto. She loses her powers, faithfully adapting while recontextualizing the same way she lost her powers in the comics. Please go read Life Death. It is a wonderful, deep character dive into Storm right after she lost the powers, where she has completely lost her sense of self, her identity, her confidence, even her will to live. And I think the way they adapted it while making it fit into the narrative they were telling, damn near perfect. From her, even to the fact that she reacted to lightning. She just had a normal reaction to a thunderclap, just a startling, which is something that we've all experienced. But not Storm, not probably since she was like a little kid, because she has an innate knowledge and connection to the environment and to nature. One of the ways that she described this in the Life Death comic books was by saying that she has to look at the clouds to see the direction they're moving in, when before she just knew. And they were able to get that point across without even any dialogue. And you just see that look on her face like, this is life for me now. It's so hard to watch, but that means that the journey she goes on is going to be so good. They're doing Storm so well in this show. One last point before I wrap up. There were some lines that kind of made me think, are they really going to do Storm well, or are they just going to pay her lip service? There were the announcements by the Sentinels that she's an Omega level threat. And then there was one of the scenes where the team was talking to Magneto, and he described her as the closest thing we'll ever get to meeting a goddess. Now, those are lines that I very much agree with. However, I do feel like sometimes there are some people who feel like they want to pay lip service to Storm fans without actually giving Storm herself the position and the weight that she deserves. They don't really do anything with her. She deserves more than just some flashy power scenes. That's why I'm glad that they're adapting Life Death. To see her be broken down to a shell of her former self, and to see her over the course of years build herself back up again with the help of her friends, to see them even get anywhere close to that is going to be a thing of beauty. And actually, upon some rewatches, if you've seen the show, you're going to hear those lines and you may even think, oh man, I hope they're not just saying this for it to sound good. But I actually feel like it was done not just to signal sort of to Storm fans that yes, we are respecting the mother, but it was also to help set up her eventual depowering. Because to go from one scene where she's being called a goddess and an Omega level threat to now crawling on the floor, can't fly, can't feel the moisture in the air, that hits so hard. You feel that shit. And I'm like, see, that's the good shit I need for my X-Men cartoon. If they stay on this track, X-Men is back. I'm declaring that right now. If they stay on this track, X-Men is back, okay? But they have to stay on the track. They can't blow their load early and then start doing a bunch of bullshit later. And if they start on some bullshit, I'm gonna talk about it when it get here later. Those are my thoughts about episodes 1 and 2. What did you think about it? Please feel free to weigh in on what your favorite moment was, who your favorite cast choice was, how do you feel about any of the things being adapted. I intentionally didn't go into everything that happened, but weigh in the comments. Let's have us a conversation about them X-Men's. And after you do that, make sure you click on this video on the screen right now so we can continue to get some Weather Witch in our lives. And until next time, keep simping.